Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
Welcome to the Two Bobs cast. We are the Two Bobs, A to Z rock and metal podcast. So we're moving along from A to Z. We are on the letter O. Did Ozzy previously, and now I'm here with other Bob, the Herd, the master of Opeth. How are you today, sir?
Dude, I'm excellent, man. I got a little vacation with my wife out in Vegas.
Lost wages?
Yeah, lost wages. I heard that a few times. Dude, I had a blast. I brought a cold with me. I feel like anytime you travel, you're
with you there or back?
No, back.
Okay.
So like halfway while I was there, I woke up one day, maybe from the air conditioning. I mean, it wasn't hot there. It was kind of crappy out, but man, it was fun. We had a blast. We walked like 30 miles. We just walked everywhere. And we actually went to see the Usher show, the R&B legend Usher. Yeah. So
nice. Cleveland's own.
Yeah. He bought the Cavs, one of the owners of the Cavs. He's got a spot here. He might be from here. I think he says he's from Atlanta though. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's one of those.
Maybe he moved here or something. I don't know. It seemed like he was local for a while.
He was. Yeah. I mean, that's when
even before the whole Cavs thing, right? He was around all the time.
So yeah, my wife was like, "Yeah, let's go to Usher."
He was born in Dallas.
Okay, well,
never mind.
That's all right. It still was.
I'm gonna claim him.
There you go. Yeah, it's fine. But we had fun. Came back and back to work. So kind of sucks when it's a long weekend and you walk all over and you're tired and you come back to work and you're already tired, and at least it was a short week for me. So all good. How was your week? You had a show or two, right?
It was a really, really busy week for me. I had to take a day off just to recuperate because I'm an old man.
Yeah.
I had Wasp and Armored Saint on Tuesday night. That was really good. Now, full transparency, I tried to sell those.
Okay.
I only paid $21 for them, so I tried to sell it and I didn't. And because right before the show, they were going for $16.20, including fees.
Oh, jeez.
So you could get in there for next to nothing. But I'll tell you what, glad I went. It was fantastic. They were really good. Saw an old friend of mine. Maybe we'll get him on the podcast here pretty soon. He knows a lot of stuff too. The guy I grew up with, but he listens to us now. So
awesome.
Cool.
Well, hello. What's his name?
Ed.
Hey, what's up, Ed?
Yep.
Yeah, Ed. We'll
He's
get you on
a good
here
dude.
for sure.
So him and his wife Lori, I ran into them. I haven't talked to him in years, and it's cool catching up with him. So, but anyway, it was a great show. Blackie Lawless sounded fantastic. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And I saw him like last year with Armored Saint 2, and I didn't think they sounded that great. And like it was really good. I sent you a couple videos, but Blackie sounded awesome. I couldn't believe it. The guy's like 76 years old or something.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you get old like that, I feel like you probably have like great days, and you have really bad
agreed.
days.
I caught him on a great day, I guess, because he was awesome, man. He had that scratchiness in his voice. It was nice and loud and clear. It was really good.
Awesome.
And then Wednesday night, I had a Cavs game, which I have a 10-game plan, so that was just one of our games. And as you know, I have Browns season tickets, so that was at the Browns game last night, which, again, full transparency, I tried to sell those too all day. I was a coin flip, but because they've been such crap lately, I was a coin flip from deciding whether or not I wanted to go. And I talked to Kelly, my wife, and I said, what do you think? And she eventually said, I think you guys should go. And I'm like, all right, then we're going to go. So I listened to her. And thank God I did, man.
Dude, I wasn't even gonna watch
What
it.
an unforgettable experience. We
I
will
bet.
never forget that game as long as we live. It was so good. In the snow globe.
Yep.
I called it the Snow Globe Steelers 2024, man. It was so good. And they kicked their ass, which they won like at the end. It was awesome.
Yep.
They were crying all over the field.
Yeah, I love it.
Watt was crying. Pickens was crying. Everybody was crying, whining. Oh,
Love
it was
it.
so good.
Yeah, like me
Oh,
and my
you should have heard the Steelers fans on the way in all talking garbage
I'm
the
sure.
whole way in. And I'm
I
like,
thought they had it in the
they're
bag.
like, yeah, 2-8. I'm like, man, well, you're going to be crying on the way out if you lose to 2-8.
Right.
Guess
Yeah,
what?
it's
What a great game, though. Just all around. Great game.
Yeah, me and my buddies had the talk like, hey, if you could only have one, would you rather have a good team or would you rather just beat the shit out of all your rivals? And of course, I'd rather have a good team. But
Yeah, you can't not, right? Like that's what it's all about,
yeah,
If you went 4-12 or 4 and whatever every year and you beat your rivals a few times and had fun doing that, it's great, but the team always sucks,
a lot of games of
the point. Nobody's ever gonna take it seriously.
sure.
But yeah, it was fantastic. So
Cool,
what a
man.
great experience. Glad I went, but I was worn out on Friday morning. So
I bet.
anywho, busy week for me, but here we are, and that's why I couldn't do the podcast earlier this week.
Yeah,
But
no,
that's
it's all
okay
good.
because it gave me extra time to go through 14 albums.
Well, not only did it give you extra time, but man, we couldn't have, and I swear we did not plan it, but they released their new album yesterday. And
Yep.
just with everything that worked out,
Mm-hmm. We actually reviewed that one too.
we can actually talk about the 14th album, which is
Yep.
crazy. So
I thought that was pretty cool too. How it worked out. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Put it in here.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest like, man, you don't have to do it because, like it's we're gonna talk about it, man. This band is a lot, and I understand it, and I get it. And me putting on this new record, I've listened to it 3 times total.
I listened to it almost twice. I didn't quite get through it all the way the second time. Buckeyes game started, but just this morning, listened to it all the way through, and then all the way through 7 or 8. I don't know, weird song titles.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I hear you. So okay, well, we'll
get me into Opeth. Give me some history.
Yes, sir. Opeth. So a little herd history first. So I never really heard these guys or listened to them at all until 2018, I think. So like, it's a band I really, really like now, but I didn't know who they were until, in the last 6 or 7 years. So, basically like I was just looking for new stuff to listen to and I found them on some list, like, best metal albums of all time. And they had like 2 or 3 of them in there in this list of like top 100. I'm like, man, I never heard these guys. Like if people are saying these guys are the best, somebody thinks they're good. And, I know everybody's got different opinions, as you're probably going to see on this podcast today.
Yes,
but, but man, like when I listened to those couple albums, it just blew me away. Like the talent of this guy, basically one guy. And, I'll get into the history here in a second, but it just, for some reason, it caught my ear right away and was totally into it. So, have tried to get many of my friends into it and, basically for however many. So it's a band I know
for however many.
Absolutely. But you know what?
What is Opeth? I even looked it up.
Yeah, I got it for you here. I'll tell you in a second. So it's funny though. Like if I would in my own little bubble, I was like, yeah, nobody likes these guys but me. You go to the shows, man. They're crazy. Like everybody goes. It sells out. When I went this past time, about a month or so ago, people were complaining. Number one, they sold out of merch. Number two, they let too many people in, and there was nowhere for anybody to stand and all that stuff. So people love this band, but nobody that I know. So
that was a recent show in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, but anyway, so Opeth, Swedish progressive rock band from Stockholm. They formed in 1989, 1990-ish. Funny thing is there's no original members of this band. When they first started, they were founded by a guy, David Isberg, and he came from a band called Procreation. So he was doing that band and wanted to do something dark and heavy, and but they needed a bass player, and he knew this guy, Michael Ackerfeld, who is a name that anybody that likes Opeth will recognize because he's basically the only guy that's left. But David introduced these guys to Michael, and for some reason, whatever it was, they did not like Michael Ackerfeld. The whole band quit. on them. So literally it was David and Michael. It was a 2-piece at that point. And everybody else was like, peace out. I'm not doing this anymore. So, yeah, kind of crazy how that all started. And then before they even released one album, David was like, peace out. So it was a one-man band. Like a Opeth, before it even had started, was basically done for. So pretty crazy how all that kind of happens. And, he liked the idea enough to the whole, dark and evil and foreboding and scenery and all that stuff. He loved
Evil
that
and
idea.
dark.
Yeah. So he went with it. But as you mentioned, the name Opeth
Joe.
so it came from a book, a novel from a Wilbur Smith, his name is. And
Okay,
the novel is called The Sunbird. In that novel, a chapter or something was called Opeth, Opet, which stands for City of the Moon.
That's what it was.
So he kind of rolled with the dark, evil, dark side of the moon type thing, and basically put a band together. And they released their first album May 15th, 1995. They signed on Candlelight Records, which I had never heard of other than these guys. Basically never heard of them. I have no idea, to be honest. The founder of this company, Lee Barrett, enjoyed a rehearsal tape of Opeth and decided to sign them. And the album received critical acclaim from them. I don't know anybody personally that likes it, but I guess people loved it in those spheres. It's a Swedish progressive death metal album, which is this Michael's really what he grew up listening to. Is the old death metal bands, the Napalm Deaths, those type of things. So those were basically his things when he was writing. He's like, for him, that's like pure death metal. And that's exactly what he was going for here. This is a pure death metal album. It's got little aspects of progressive in it with little acoustic pieces, like folk music, but all of the vocals are screaming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a rough listen to even for me today. I'm not going to give too much info about the members of the band until they start becoming more consistent, because for this album, we have Michael Ackerfeld, of course. He's going to be on every single record. He's the lead singer, lead guitarist, a little more rhythm guitar later on, and is the primary songwriter in everything except the first like 2 records. He has his buddy Peter Lindgren on guitars, who helps him write some of the stuff, the first album and the second album. And then we have Anders Norden on drums and a Johan Di Farfalla on bass. Now, these guys don't really stick around that long, but just the band that he put together, and this is the album that came out. Another interesting fact about Opeth is they didn't tour like at all until their 5th album. All they did was a few shows here and there. Michael didn't like performing live from what I hear. He just did a few shows here and there, and you can only find really a few live performances on like YouTube, things like that before. So it's really hard to find anything until Blackwater Park comes out. That was their first actual tour that they did. So this album, 7 tracks, 65 minutes for these 7 tracks. It is a rough listen for me. I'm sure Mr. H, it was even more rough. I do not go back to this album at all, but doesn't quite fit the low spot for me. This will be number 13 out of 14. This is not my thing, and I will gladly say it. This type of music is not for me. I don't like death metal. It has to be melodic in some way for me to like it. No melody in this, hardly at all. So this is pretty bad for me. It's just a no. I don't come back to it. I don't like it. They don't play anything from this live, except for when they do special tours where they'll play something from every album. But this is a no for me. 13. This is a D, which I don't give a lot of Ds. This is one of my favorite bands, but this stuff's bad. I don't like it. Doesn't work for me. So number 13 and a D. What did you think of Orchid, Mr. H?
No.
Yep.
That's what I wrote.
Yep.
No. It's mostly instrumental. 5 of the 8 songs are 9 minutes and 50 seconds or longer. So that's basically all of the actual real songs. There's a minute 11 instrumental and there's a 3:07 that's instrumental, but most of the rest of these songs are instrumentals also.
Yep.
There's not a whole lot of singing here. To me now we're gonna have to kind of go back. Now I don't really like this band, never have. I've listened to some live clips that you've sent me and told me to listen to, and I kind of like those a little bit, but I've never seen them live. And I just going into this, I'm not a real fan. So I'm actually listening to some of these older albums for the first time ever. I heard of these guys probably about mid 2000s when we'll get to one of Herd's favorite albums in there. You can see it behind him. But that I heard about them then because they started to get kind of bigger and they kind of entered my orbit or whatever, you know. And I heard of them, and that's when I tried to start listening to them, and I just never really got into that either. But we'll get to that later. I just wanted to start by saying that it's going to sound like a lot of not bashing, I guess, but I really don't like these guys, and it'll show through. This just isn't for me. It sounds to me, and I'm kind of growing listening to this for the first time, figuring out like who they are even. And I said that some songs they feel like they're multiple songs kind of mashed into one in a lot of places, and it's even disjointed where it doesn't seem to fit with what they're doing here, and then they do something else that doesn't fit with that, and then they do something else, and doesn't seem like it's connected to the earlier part of the song or any other part. It's almost like he's just winging it, you know?
Yeah,
It's weird. But there's not a lot of structure. There's not a lot of like catchy. There's nothing catchy. Nothing in it. There's no like hooks. There's nothing in here you can chant. And that's like Lamb of God, now you got something to die for or whatever. Like there's nothing like that anywhere in any of these albums. So
right. Yep.
If you like that, like I do a lot, it's going to be tough for you to try to get through some of this because there's not a lot of simplicity here. It's very complicated stuff. Michael Ackerfeld is obviously a genius level musician. I mean, he can play all kinds of stuff. He can sing all kinds of ranges and stuff too. Sometimes I like his voice, sometimes I don't, but it's just one of those bands where it's like the songs are so long and there's so many parts of them. I'll say it again later too. There's parts of these songs not on this album. I didn't like this one at all. This is a D. This is last for me. This is 14. But there's chunks of some songs where I really like it, but that goes on for about 2 minutes and it goes into this whole other jazzy acoustic interlude, and I don't like it at all. And I'm like, what is this? This has nothing to do with what I just heard. And it's in the same song, so it's kind of weird. But this is kind of how I was growing listening to these albums because there is some similarities, and then there's some changing up later too, quite a bit actually. So it'll be interesting. So I got this as a D. This is last for me. I just put not for me. That was my last comments on that one. So where are we moving to next?
Yeah. 1 year later, we get Morning Rise. Their second studio album was released on June 24th, 1996. I didn't say on the first one, also on this one, produced by Opeth and Dan Swano. Dan Swano, pretty well known when it comes to Swedish. Dan the Man Swano.
Yeah,
he's a Swedish musician. He mostly is known for the band Nightingale. Pretty well known dude. Again, in those kind of realms of Swedish metal type thing. So he helped produce it. This is basically the second album, and I think the only album with these four guys: Ackerfeld, Lindgren, and then De Farfalla and Norden. This is pretty much the same. Some people like the production a little bit better on this one than the first one. I still think this is really bad. It's still a no for me. These songs are just meandering. There's even more than they meander later on. These songs just kind of don't have a direction for me. These all just feel like he hit record and just said, "Oh, these are the 20 parts that I just practiced. We're going to put it all in a song." People love some of these songs.
I have a note about that too. That's funny you said that.
Yeah, so I'm on a lot of message boards, Opeth groups, and they were playing over like the last year, the Black Rose Immortal, which is their longest song, 20 minutes long. And people are like, "Oh, I want to hear this live." Like I'm to myself begging, like, "No, dude, like you could fit like 3 or 4 other songs in there that I want to hear." I don't like it. I don't like any of this stuff.
Well, there's probably 4 songs in that one song. Honestly,
There is. No, there is. The only song that I like off of this is "To Bid You Farewell." It was kind of the first hint of there's some melody in there somewhere, and I don't.
Glad you
Again,
say so.
I don't come back to this album at all. I don't come back to the first one at all.
And you said they don't play any of this?
No. Well,
Okay.
other than, like I said, this tour.
Yeah, those weird tours. Yeah,
Those weird tours. But "To Bid You Farewell" is about the only thing
Weird.
that I could take away from this that I'm like, okay, it's all right. But I don't like either of these albums. This is 14 for me and also a D. These two are bottom of the barrel. If this was what they did, then I would never. This band would never have gotten past the starting line for me. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they did not stay with this style. This was kind of the last one of just pure death metal. A lot of growly vocals without any melody or anything put in there. So this is an easy 14 for me. This is the one I even come to the least. Orchid's still bad. This one's a little worse. So did not like it. Did you have any better feelings about this one?
No. I have more of the same.
Yeah.
For me, all songs are 10 minutes longer. This album's 66 minutes long. 66 minutes.
Yep.
There's 5 songs on it.
Yep.
So this is even, and like you said, this for me, I said this is even more all over the place than Orchid is. Like there's more disorganization, weirdness on here than there even was on Orchid. There's virtually nothing about this album that I like. To Bid You Farewell, somehow, like you said, has 12 million plays, though. I'm not sure how that's even possible.
Yeah, people love it. Like people
I
love
don't
this
know.
stuff.
Yeah. I think their highest ones are like in the 30s or 40s or something. This one has 12 million like plays. I'm like, all right. But Skippers for me, all of it. Rating D. Next.
Yep.
I got this at 13. So
Gotcha.
Next. I couldn't.
No,
the coin between this one and Orchid, honestly.
Okay.
I totally get you got this one at the bottom because this one is a little even less organized.
I don't like it. Like
but it's got one song here. People apparently everybody likes. So.
Yeah. It's got acoustic guitar and a little singing, but it's rough. You know, Michael is an amazing vocalist now, but he wasn't always. Like he grew into it. So I mean, he very early on, you could tell he probably lacked confidence, probably didn't know what he wanted to do.
That's my guess, and that's probably the easiest route to go if you lack confidence in your vocal ability to just do the death metal thing if you can, because there's not. He does do it in a way that doesn't sound like other people. I'll give him that.
Agreed, yeah.
You can tell that it's different. You know, like I haven't heard anybody that sounds like this guy because some of those guys, the Cookie Monster types, kind of sound the same, you know, and you can't really tell the difference. But you can tell, like, he does sound different when he does that, but it's consistently all the same. You don't really, there's no variation to it. So that makes total sense what you just said. So
so we're gonna head over to August 18th, 1998. My Arms, Your Hearse.
Does that mean he's like choking people out?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't really know. I always kind of chuckle. I chuckle with this, so it's kind of a silly title.
To figure out what that meant.
Yeah, no clue. So this time we got
there's a lot of that though. I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to say or what some of these lyrics mean because I'm like, what? He's like not only a musical genius, his apparently brain is on a whole other level for mine too that I can't. I'm like, what is he talking about?
Totally.
Or maybe it's nothing. Maybe he's just throwing lines together and maybe they all mean nothing. I don't know. But there's a lot of concept stuff they've done. So
a lot of concepts.
Kind of makes sense that he's telling some kind of story, but a lot of times it's over my head.
So speaking of concept, he has like an interesting concept for this album, My Arms, Your Hearse. So produced by Opeth, Frederick Nordstrom, and Anders Frieden. So Frederick Nordstrom.
Anders Frieden, is he in Flames?
Is he the guy?
Is he involved with In Flames? I've heard that name before.
No, you're right. You're right. No, he's the singer. Singer of In Flames. Frederick Nordstrom is the guitarist of Dream Evil. So both of these guys pretty well known in their little circles.
I always thought it was maybe a Dio cover band, Dream Evil, but it's not.
Nope. Yeah, I'm sure that probably played into the title. Yeah. So Opeth in this album is Michael Ackerfeld, Peter Lindgren, who's kind of his writing buddy. Until this album, Peter only has one writing credit. From here on out, now it's Michael's ball game, and he takes over. You know, he does it all. He does the lyrics, every lyric that's said, every guitar riff is all him. It's all him now from now on. But he did bring in Martin Lopez, who is the first drummer that stays for a while, and this guy is awesome. He's one of my favorite drummers. He actually now is in a band called Soen, who I really, really like. It's a Latin, like a Latin / metal drummer. It's pretty cool. I really like his drum work.
Lopez?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Martin Lopez. So the concept that he did with this one is if you listen to every song, the last word that he says in the song is a title of the next song that's on the album. So it's just his clever way of, whatever the last word is that he sings on the song before, that's the title of the next song. So kind of a loose little thing, not really a story that I can tell of any kind that links it together, but that's kind of his concept here.
So the last word of Madrigal, is it the or amen? Or amen quarter? Or
No,
the amen quarter?
Madrigal is an instrumental, so he didn't have to say the next word, but the song, so in Amen Corner, the last song
around it there.
is Demon of the Fall.
Okay,
And the last word of Demon in the Fall is Credence.
Gotcha.
So this album is a huge breath of fresh air for me personally.
What about in When? Does he say Madrigal?
Yes, he does. Okay. Yep. At the very last thing of When is Madrigal. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Had to know.
I don't even know.
So there's not really a story. There's just that's just the common thing that he does throughout this. Okay.
This album.
I thought it was like a story concept.
No, that's the next album is the story.
Okay.
Album.
Gotcha.
Okay. But this one, I really like this album a lot. This is the first one that I go back to all the time I listen to it. These songs are a little more structured, still long, but they're all long. Every album has long songs.
Yeah, we're not going to get away from that.
Nope. But these are awesome. I really like pretty much every song on this. Demon of the Fall is one of their most popular live. It's probably one of the darkest, most evil songs I've ever heard in my life. Just the sound of it, not necessarily what they're talking about or anything. It just sounds heavy, dark. This is kind of the first album where they finally, they kind of do what I like. What they do is it's just atmospheric, dark, grimy. Like it takes you somewhere and you have this mental picture of just dark and the darkest atmosphere and stuff like that. So I love this album a lot. This is actually one that I probably go back to more than a lot of the other ones because, you kind of get sick of your favorite ones. You kind of overplay them. And then this one I kind of go back to. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to this one. So April Ethereal is awesome. When is probably one of my favorite Opeth songs. Really underrated. Great guitar work. Just to throw out there, the main thing I like about Opeth is their guitars. I like the guitar solos that Michael does. He does most of the guitar solos until he gets his buddy who's in the band now, who plays guitar for Ghost and all that stuff now. So I feel like up until then, I guess he just felt like he needed to be the lead guitarist. So he plays a lot of these solos, a lot of melodies. I really, really like it. The Demon of the Fall is good. Credence is their first ballad song. I think it's really, really good. Again, real creepy. Karma's awesome. So this is a good album for me. They keep getting better, but this one is actually number 5 for me, and this is a B. Just the night and day difference between the last album to this album. So I'm interested to hear what Mr. H has to say about My Arms, Your Hearse. Any better?
Not
really.
A little bit. Hey, all the songs are under 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Hallelujah. That's moving in the right direction. Production on this one I feel is much better than the first two. But now having said that about Lopez, I wonder if it's kind of the way his drums are set up, or if this was kind of a production difference that a different guy produced this one, right? But I love the sound of the snare drum. I love it. Like it's one of the better ones I think I've ever heard. It was actually, as I'm listening to it, it kept standing out to me. I'm like, God, I love the sound of that thing.
Yeah.
Like, it really sounds good. But anyway, just picking one little thing that I did like, because I didn't hate it really, but but I feel like the production's better. There's a kind of a better mix, I think, and I really like the drum sound. So it may be just the different members is responsible for that. But Amen Corner finally has a guitar riff that I like. Finally, in 2.5 albums.
2.5 albums, yep.
2.5 albums, I finally got a guitar riff that I like. Did he write that song while watching Tiger at the Masters? I wonder.
Maybe, I don't
Amen
know.
Corner. I mean,
Probably-
that was
probably not.
97. It was 97. That's the year he won by 12 strokes and had was 26 under par or whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
I just figured it was weird. As he's as the song's going along, I'm thinking, how is this related to the Masters? Like,
Right.
10, 11, and 12, right? Or is it 11, 12, and 13? Anyway, this is more accessible for me. I mean, although it's still kind of jazzy death metal.
Yep.
I know that's kind of what I tried to describe it as. As like I said, of people that they haven't listened to it, I've tried to describe it how I thought of it because I hadn't heard this either. So I really, nothing here really kind of still stood out to me. Like I'm still missing the guitar riffs, and for the most part, I mean, one song there was one, but if you forced me to pick a song or two, I even wrote in here maybe Demon of the Fall or Creedence.
Yep.
I like more than the rest of it. I don't love them,
Okay.
either song, but I like them more than the rest of them. But the skippers for me are most of the rest of it.
Okay.
I have this as a D plus, so I still have this down at the bottom of my rankings. So this is 12. I think that's the only 3 Ds that I had. So
Okay.
At least some of this I didn't immediately want to skip. It seems like they took the same things they were doing, but shortened them up a little bit, which is a good thing, I thought, going forward. But they really didn't last anyway. They ended up getting way more into the 12, 14 minutes, 20-minute songs, like you mentioned. That stuff's still coming. So it's not like they just did it on this album, which is good. But
Yep.
I still don't like the arrangements and the jazzy parts, and like it's just I hear that and I'm just like, what is this? I don't listen to that stuff, so it just I don't really like it in my death metal. I don't mind some death metal, like you. I like bands that are fringe death metal. Lamb of God's fringe kind of death metal. Avatar is considered death metal, but I think they're kind of fringe death metal. And even anymore, they're not death metal, but you like them too. So there's some, but kind of on the fringe, And I think I could like some of this, but it's just not. If it was more like Lamb of God and more built around guitar riffs and like more vocals you can get stuck in your head and you can't stop humming the rest of the day, like there's none of that here.
Right.
Nothing. So you've listened to it a whole bunch of times. I've listened to it once. So maybe if I listen to it 12 more times, I don't know, but I just don't like it enough, I don't think, to put in the time to do that. So
Gotcha.
It is what it is. So let's move along.
All right. 4th studio album. We got the same producers. We got Opeth, and then we got Frederick Nordstrom. They moved labels from that Candlelight over to Peaceville, which is a British label. This one is their first one to feature their full-time bassist now, Martin Mendez.
He's been around that long, huh?
Yeah, he's still with them.
That's good.
Yep. So he's phenomenal. He's an amazing bass player. Really starting to get a little bit more permanent here on Still Life. So they have Lopez, they have Mendez, and then they still have Lindgren, and then, of course, Ackerfeld. This is their first true concept album.
Gotcha.
This tells a story from beginning to end. The main character is banished from his hometown because he does not have the same faith as the rest of the inhabitants. It pretty much it goes up where it's about a tale of love, where he falls in love with this woman, and because he's been banished, he's trying to find a way to sneak in and still keep his relationship with her. And then basically like a tale of old castle where, she ends up getting burned at the stake or whatever. And it turns nasty, but it's a true concept album. It tells a story from beginning to end. The main character, female in it, is named Melinda, who is the name of his oldest daughter. Interesting fact there. Otherwise, this is a pretty damn good album. This is revered pretty highly along Opeth circles. A lot of people like this album a lot from front to back. A lot of their more popular songs. This may be the 3rd most popular album overall. This one had 7 songs, 63 minutes, some really long ones that I'm sure Mr. H did not appreciate very much. But we got The More, one of their more famous songs. Face of Melinda, they played live when I just saw them last month. It's phenomenal. It's all acoustic until the end. Phenomenal. These riffs are so damn good to me from front to back. Godhead's Lament, so good. Serenity Painted Death is really, really good. I think Moonlapse Vertigo is also one of their best riffy songs. I love this stuff. This is good. This is number 4 for me. It's a B+. This is really actually one of the first albums that I didn't really think this was just. At first, I thought this was going to be like a 2-album band for me, and then I listened to this one, and it kind of widened my range a little bit. Loudwire placed it number 54 on their top 90 hard rock albums of the 90s. Basically, just kind of Michael's continuing to evolve the sound that he wants to go with. And this is the album that kind of led to him getting his guy that produced his next album that kind of blew this band up. So, again, really, really like this album. It feels like it is going more into the direction that I like personally. A lot more melody here, a lot more guitar solos, but, still a lot of long songs. So, it kind of is what it is. That's what he writes. So what did you think of Still Life, Mr. H?
I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for this one either. This is back to mostly way too long, meandering songs again. 11 minutes, 9 minutes, 9 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. It's just... All right, so I tried to dig a little deeper once I got to this point here. So I have a little bit more notes here, but I tried to write things down so I didn't forget. But, there's a lot of songs to listen to for 14 albums that you're not familiar with over the course of a week and a half. So I try to take a lot of notes. Anyway, so I said that the more, the first song, the more, it could be a really good song for me if it was 4 to 5 minutes shorter. The main part of this song is something I can listen to and I like. There's just too much other fluff there. So this song's 11 minutes and 23 seconds. I like a little bit more than half of it, but if it was like 7 minutes, I think I'd like it even more.
Okay.
The very end of the song Face of Melinda has a great riff that I really liked, but I didn't hear that riff anywhere else in the rest of 8 minutes of a song.
Yep.
8 minutes, and I didn't hear the rest. I didn't hear that again. Like, why do I get 1 minute of a really nice section, and then it's just never revisited in the entire rest of the song? So, Serenity Painted Death is another one. It has a section starting at 1:27. I wrote it down that I really liked. It lasted for a little over a minute. It returns at 7:49 for 20 seconds. That's 90 seconds out of a 9-minute song. I just don't get this band. I don't know why you have these two little parts of a song that are really good, but it's just, that's the only, like, it's such a small percentage of the rest of the song. Like, where is it, like, where you have a riff and you kind of build on that and you kind of revisit it a couple of times? Like, it's just, that stuff doesn't exist. It's like, Here it is. See you later.
That's not how he writes.
For me, that doesn't make like a good song. That's a good part of a song, but I can't, I don't want to listen to 12 minutes of a song to hear 3 minutes of it in two different parts, like, it's just that makes me just want to skip it. Cause I'm like, it's not worth the time. I don't know. So like I said, I guess I just don't get it at this point. That's the notes I wrote down. We're 4 albums in. That's what I wrote here. Is I just, at this point, I'm like, I don't get this band. I don't know what I'm ever gonna like at this point. This is the bottom 4 for me. This is 11 D+. Again, there's just not much here for me. There's pieces and parts of songs buried amongst their jazzy elevator music and weird death metal interludes that they do. It's just so all over the place. I don't know. And the weird thing is too, is you talk about like the length of their songs, and nobody says how they don't like lengths of songs more than you do when we're talking about other bands. But I can't believe how much you love these guys, considering these songs are all over the place and they're super, super long. So I don't know. Our buddy Brian says the same thing a lot. And I'm like, but you're a Dream Theater fan, right?
Yeah,
like, you have a Dream Theater podcast, but he says the same thing. He's like, I can't believe Iron Maiden wrote this song at 7.5 minutes, man. If that was 5 minutes, it'd be great. But yet he's listening to 17-minute, Dream Theater songs. He's like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, I don't understand it.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's just, everybody's different. We always say that, I know Bob loves these guys, and I'm not trying to bash them. I just don't get it, man. And this is just my thoughts as I'm listening to it. So
yeah, it's all
this
good,
one I
man.
got is 11. I got it as a D+. So Onward we go.
Onward to March 12th.
It does get better for
2001.
me. I will admit that.
Well,
So.
yeah. Well, the production is.
I'm not just going to D every one of these albums. I think that's the only D's I have, honestly, from here on out. So it gets better.
Yeah. So March 12th, 2001, produced by Opeth and the great Steven Wilson of English descent, who is known for his Porcupine Tree stuff. This kind of made the band, as far as I'm concerned. What he did to shape Michael as a songwriter, as melodies, as atmosphere, from here on out, it's like top notch. Like, this is what made it for me. This is the album that I started to see on all the lists. Loudwire marked it number 1 progressive metal album of all time. Rolling Stone marked it the 55th of the 100 greatest metal albums of all time. I was like, you know what? If people are saying this is amazing, I need to listen to it. And it worked for me.
Rolling Stone.
Yeah. This is phenomenal.
My eyes too hard.
It's okay. It's all right. I get it.
No, I'm talking about Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
In general.
I got you.
But he must agree with them politically, or else they wouldn't rank it that high, because they'll just discount bands like they don't even exist if they don't agree with their politics. So
well,
it's the dumbest thing.
I don't think Opeth has any politics, and I think
maybe not. That's why I can't take Rolling Stone's word for it. You know what I mean? Because whatever. But yeah, I did read a lot of great things about this album, though. So I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying, the Rolling Stone just makes me roll my eyes. But
this album is. Again, it's just, this is the one I read about. This is what led me to them, and I played it, and then I played it again, and then I played it again, and 100 times after, I'm like, this is some of the best stuff I've ever heard. This is just me. This fits me. Yes, your comment earlier about I do make fun of the lengths of songs. Man, Michael does not waste a second for me. I feel like everything he does for me on this album especially hits. I love everything he does. I love every melody. I love every vocal part. I love every guitar part. These are classic, epic songs for me. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. Track listing, there's 8 of them, 8 songs, 66 minutes. Again, a lot of stuff. This is the album I play that my wife really likes also. Even more than my favorite album, which is actually not this album, which you know of. This is their best album, though. This is the difference between their best album and my favorite album is different. But this is the one I'll put on my record player at home, and my wife will put it on even when I'm not around, which is cool to me because she loves Harvest. She loves The Drapery Falls. These songs to her are just amazing, and they play them live. They play a lot of this live, which is awesome for me. The Leper Affinity is incredible. Bleak features vocals by Steven Wilson. And the title track, Blackwater Park, which is only one of 2 songs that Lindgren has writing credits on. The riff in Blackwater Park is probably up there with my favorite riff of all time, with songs like Master of Puppets and things like that. I love this album. This album kind of shows why I love this band so much. This album is an A-tier album. This is number 2 for me. Easy number 1 and number 2. They have 2 albums to me that just blow everything else away, that can be put up there, in my opinion, with these other amazing metal albums of all time. So Blackwater Park for me is amazing. I love every second of it. There's no skippers. I love everything, every moment. What did you think of Blackwater Park, Mr. H?
There's parts of songs I like intertwined with parts I really don't like. But it's a bit better than previous albums for sure for me. I think Wilson does make a difference. Is this the one that was the first of a trilogy, or was it one of the next ones?
Trilogy.
Anyway, yeah, I read that there's like a trilogy of albums, that one was an Opeth album and then a Steven Wilson solo album,
right.
And then an album that had both of them in it, that they did one album. I can't remember what the name of it was, but anyway.
Yeah, Storm Corrosion was the one they did together. Yep.
Yeah. So, and that was the third of the trilogy, I guess. But I don't know if that was Blackwater Park or the next one. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it is.
Sorry, I brought that up. The parts I do like here are a bit more memorable, like the chorus for Bleak, for example, I like a lot, but the swings from jazz to death metal and the rest of the song I'm just not a fan of. Like that's just them, I guess. I mean, I kind of maybe got a little numb to it later, and there are some of that stuff that I thought was okay, I can deal with this, but it's just all over the place. Harvest is a pretty normal ballad of a song. It just wasn't memorable for me. Like, it's all really slow and acoustic, but at least it didn't have all the genre bending swings within the same song. So I thought it was worth mentioning. It's just because this doesn't seem like the norm for them up until here. It's just they wrote a lot more of these, I think, later on, but I just didn't really love this one, but I appreciated it more because it's just not all over the place. Like it seemed like every other song was. Blackwater Park has some parts I like too. The 2 to 3 minute mark, and then it goes off to Never Neverland for a couple of minutes, and then it comes back somewhere in the 6 minute range for a few minutes before going away again, and then the whole song's 12 minutes long. And again, I like, I don't know, about 4.5 minutes of the 12 minutes. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I tried so hard. Oh my god,
You got so far.
I did. Hey, finally a song I think I kind of like, and that was The Funeral Portrait. It's still way too long at 8:44, but it didn't kind of go all over the place, and it kept my interest the whole time. So even the parts that it kind of did, it still kept me interested. I'm like, that was actually a pretty good song. So the skippers for me are most of the rest of it, except for, just like I said, parts here and there. There's parts of it that are great that I really like, but man, it's just, it goes off and I'm like, why? And then and I don't know how long this next part's gonna last. And there's like, it's another 4 minutes, and I'm like, okay. And then, whoa, here's that part I liked again, and then now it's gone again. And there's acoustic part, and then some atmosphere, and then I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Some of it, like we put wind sound on when we go to bed at night to like sleep to, and yeah, when I hear the interlude parts here that are just all atmosphere, it almost makes me want to take a nap. So I don't know. I have it as a C though. I have it at 7, so this one's right in the middle for me because there's some brighter spots here than there are in previous albums. Just like I said right at the beginning, I did like this one more. I didn't hate it in some cases as much, but there's still like, I guess the stuff you really like about them is what I don't, because
Sounds like it. Yeah,
this is
opposite
total opposite
here.
almost. I mean, this one, and I think when we get to your favorite, I think I have that one near the top too. So like this one's 7, but I think we're getting to the point where I like it a little bit more. So anyway, let's just move along.
All right, 6th album, produced by Michael Ackerfeld, Steven Wilson again, Deliverance, and this is album 1 of a double album that they did separately. This one is a dark and a light album. They did this on purpose for this one to be the evil, heavy album that they normally do, and then they wanted to do a separate one, all acoustic with all. I don't want to say it's not dark. It's acoustic. Damnation is very, very dark. But this one is 5 songs, 6 songs. There's a 2-minute instrumental in the middle there. I always kind of forget about that one. But we got their title track, Deliverance, is their song they close with at every show. I guarantee Mr. H hates that song because that one is literally all over the place. I actually don't like it as much as they think that we like it as much. My favorite song on this album is A Fair Judgment. To me, it kind of feels like it almost sounds like a 70s like a 70s rock band like doing it. It's a good album for me. This one's a little bit further down the list. This one's number 7 overall. This is like a B- for me. It's pretty good. It's got a lot of good parts, but for me, the songs don't really stand by themselves very well. So this one isn't one of my favorites. It's still, I like it a lot more than a lot of their newer stuff, but it just falls a little bit further for me. Number 7, Deliverance. What did you think of Deliverance?
I have some kind of the same as before. There's parts I like. Whole songs definitely not really.
Yep.
All of them are way too long, except for the one. Let's see. which one was it? I think the short one, Absent Friends.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, that's the instrumental.
that was the one. I couldn't think of it. I started to write it down. I didn't finish, but yeah, that was the short one. Everything else over 10 minutes. This is in my story of getting through Opeth. I put a note in here that I'm starting to feel like maybe this band is just never going to be for me.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down here as I was getting through this. The first couple minutes of Master's Apprentice is good. Then it loses me for the rest of the song. My favorite, I think I agree with you. A Fair Judgment is a decent song. That's probably my favorite one on this one. I mean, there's only 6 songs and the one real short acoustic, but I did like A Fair Judgment. That was a pretty decent song. The skippers for me again are most everything else except for parts here and there. Yeah, so I had this as a C minus. I have this as 10. Again, there's some good parts. There's one decent song, but I kind of don't care for the rest, other than like I said, a couple minute sections here and there. So it's hard to like a whole song when you only like a third of it.
Right.
So like I said, I only got like one that I really like, and then as we get on here, there's other songs I don't like, but that I would leave play, and because I don't. It's not so all over the place where I'm like, what's going on? I just got to move along,
Yeah.
And I don't do that. I'm just, as I'm listening, I think about, okay, if I was listening to this album again, I would probably skip the rest of this song or the rest of whatever, and go to this song and then this song and then kind of skip the other ones because I know I don't like them. So, but when I listen to all these albums, I listen to all the songs.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's how I did find pieces of them that I liked. So it was kind of worth that. I guess I just wish those parts could be their own song, and then it would be easy to skip the other one.
Mhm.
But he just writes, I guess, what he feels, and it's all over the place, and that's him, I guess. So, but I have this C minus down 10, so I have this. I think all of my double digit ones are now covered. So from here on out, they're all top 10 for me.
Okay. Moves us to the 7th album, Damnation, the second part of the double album. This one also produced by Steven Wilson. 43 minutes long. Now, these song lengths might be more of your style.
They are.
This is 8 songs, 43 minutes long. He did it all acoustic. Pretty awesome album. Even though it's a little bit lower on my list, it's just different. It's not really Opeth for me, but I appreciate it for what it is. Window Pane, I think, is top notch. They play at a lot of shows. They always play one song off this album at every show because it kind of breaks it up for them, I think. There's no harsh vocals on this album at all. It's all singing. So I'm glad he finally had the confidence to just go all out with the singing. Window Pane, In My Time of Need, phenomenal. I like To Rid the Disease. Hope Leaves are my 4 favorite. Still no skippers on this one. This is a pretty good album. I like it a little bit less than Deliverance, just because to me it's not really Opeth as much. I don't love it. I feel like this is a well-loved album among fans, but for me, just not quite up there. Number 8 for me. This is a C+, B- on that cusp. Good stuff, but when it all around for Opeth, it just kind of falls a little short for me. What did you think of Damnation?
For Damnation, you're right. I did read that these were recorded at the same time and just kind of split by design. One's really heavy and one's not as heavy. But it's less death metal, and obviously it's more melodic progressive rock than Deliverance. Not just in the lyrics, but in the instruments as well. It's more feels very jam band with a few lyrics here and there, and then extended like instrumental jam sessions, kind of. I think I like this overall a little more than the death metal stuff. It's still just all over the place, and I get kind of bored at times with the jams parts of it. Like there are some of those where I'm like, this is pretty good. I could just kind of bob my head along. This is all right. And then other times I'm like, all right, I can't wait till this part is over because I know the song's going to change a little bit again. So, and bring the vocals back in because he does have a pretty good voice. He just, when he wants to show it off, and he does that here and in other spots on this album, it's just more so than the past albums. But I think I just like this a little bit more overall. My favorites are In My Time of Need is pretty good, albeit it's a bit slow, but I like that one. Same with To Rid the Disease. Like I said, he's got a decent voice, so it was kind of cool to hear that it's different here. And these songs are shorter, but I still would skip much of it because it's just slow and boring. Like, this isn't my thing either, right? So
Yep.
some of the death metal stuff I didn't mind parts of it, and then some of this I didn't mind parts of it, but I felt like I put in here that I guess I need a middle ground from Opeth. Like
Right.
I need more of a middle ground, somewhere in between. This super light, almost like hard jazz,
Yeah.
kind of, or heavy jazzle. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's just you know it's better for me that I like this more than, and probably because of the song structure, and it's not as all over the place. So, um, I have this as a C. I have this as an 8. So this is kind of in the middle. The songs they're much shorter. His voice sounds really good. It lacks energy and gets a bit boring. It's very folksy sounding in spots. Even there's some Middle Eastern sound to some of it too.
Yep.
This is kind of a mood album for me. Like, I can see myself coming back to it if I'm in a certain type of like mellow mood where I just want to chill, like just chill mode. I think this would fit. Like, I could probably put this on and then really not skip any of it. Like, normally this wouldn't have enough energy for me, but I feel like I could be in a mood where I could listen to this one. So anyway, I have this one kind of in the middle. It's just kind of middle of the road. Not terrible.
All right. Let's move on to the 8th studio album. August 29th, 2005. This one produced by Jens Bogren, who does a lot of Swedish metal bands, Demir Borgir, At the Gates, Arch Enemy, those type of albums.
Demon Burger.
Yeah.
Funny, I always call him Demon Burger.
Yeah. Nice. This one is my jam. This album is freaking
My
rip.
jam.
I love this one. This one just hits all the right things for me. They're signed for Roadrunner Records, so this is like their first big name. They finally get caught with a record label that everybody knows. They thought this was the one that was going to get them big, and I don't think it did as well commercially, but it did pretty well within Opeth circles. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's so good. I think its production is good. I think his growls are the best they ever sounded. I think his song structure is a little bit better. Just love this stuff. This is really good. This is one of my favorites of all time. My favorite. I could see that people think Blackwater Park is their best, but I love it. A Ghost of Perdition. They play it live almost at every show. One of my favorite songs. Harley Quinn Forest is one of my favorite songs. Phenomenal. The Grand Conjuration is pretty freaking cool. Has more European type sound in there, like a lot of different stuff. Bang of the Hounds is phenomenal. I just love this album. I could probably go on for this one forever, but just everybody out there know that I love this album. And if I'm going to choose one Opeth album, I'm going to take this one. This is actually their first album they included a keyboard player, which they now have on every single album going forward. They do go a lot towards organs and mellotrons and pianos here going forward as kind of, this is what Ackerfeld likes. He's at this point, he's like, I'm tired of the death metal stuff. I want to get away from it. I don't want to do it anymore. Just kind of seeing his age, getting older, like, all right, I'm done with this. So we still have another album after this of it, but you could tell he was kind of done with it. He's trying to move into other directions. I think this is the perfect mix between progressive rock, metal, death metal. This is kind of like includes everything. So I like this one. This is good. This is number 1 for me. This is an A+, one of my favorite metal albums of all time. This just hits for me. What did you think of Ghost Reveries?
of Wealth and Isolation Years. I didn't care for those. Those are the two ones I like the least. But I have this as a B. This is the highest I'm going to go with them. I can't make him an A because I just don't like him enough. But this is number one for me. You're right. This is the best of both worlds for this band for me too. Like just the way it's put together. It's this. If I'm gonna like anything, it's gonna be this. From them. Yep. So I'll probably, if I'm ever gonna revisit them, it'll be this first. Just because I know that this is what I like the most of what they did. So,
yep.
The songs I like are too long, but for most part, I could just let this one play other than the two songs, which I guess is 25% of it. But even those, I could probably just leave on, if I'm just playing it in the background. But I don't hate them. So anyway, that's number one for me.
Awesome. All right. Ninth album, May 19th, 2008, Watershed. We got a new guitarist. We got Frederick Ackerson, who's their current guitar player. He is from Arch Enemy, and he's pretty popular. Tobias Forge, our buddy from Ghost, hired him to do the guitar work. Basically, I think all the studio guitar work for Impera, the newest album. This guy is a beast on guitar. He can finally, Michael passes over the lead guitaring to him and now is a rhythm guitar player. This is the first time that happens. And you can see when you see him live, everything from this album forward is lead guitars or solos are played by Frederick. They also replaced Martin Lopez with Martin Axelrod, who stayed with them until he wasn't on this new album, but was on every album in between. And then just the brutal album. This song is probably one of their heaviest. Production is good. That's probably why it sounds so heavy, because the earlier albums are probably heavier, but the production's so bad and muffled, it doesn't sound as dark and brutal to me. But Watershed is phenomenal. I love this album. A lot of good ups and downs. Heir Apparent, they just played on their new tour. I think it's awesome. I love the guitars in it. Lotus Eater is awesome for the first half. Then I'm out. I don't know what he's doing on the second part of that with the keyboards and stuff. Not a fan. Burden is good. Porcelain Heart, same thing. Awesome for the first half. Second half, I'm out. But this kind of leads me to where we're going with their next few albums. It's not for me. I don't like Opeth as a progressive rock band, and that's kind of where they're headed on this album. For me, I do not like it that much. Solid album, though. I really, really like it. The parts that I like are as good as anything else they've done. I feel like this is the perfect Watershed moment for them, where they meld the early stuff with where they're going. This is number 3 for me. This is a B+. I really like what I like. What I don't like is, again, what kind of leads into the next album. Watershed, pretty good. What did you think of Watershed?
What did you have this one rank?
I had this third and a B+.
Okay. I'm not too far off of that. Again, my complaints are the same as before. Surely anybody will be tired of hearing me complain about it before now. So, Lotus Eater, it has some weird 80s video game interlude in there. Like,
yes.
Why is that exactly? Like, it doesn't add to the song at all that I can tell. Like, I don't know why that's even there. Like, some of it is like, okay, it's just him. He's switching. He wants to do this jazzy interlude, and he's just still playing along, right? But this is like just a recorded thing. It's not, nobody's playing this, Like, I'm like, what is this? Why is this in here? I don't know. But my favorites here were Coil, very nice. Burden also has a nice Pink Floyd kind of vibe to it. That's where I kind of feel like they're going with this. It's progressive. It's kind of. It's a little too long in some cases. I didn't like Hessian Peel. That was one skipper for me. But for this one, this is a 2. This is a B- for me. This is my second favorite album by them. It's a little easier to take with smaller doses, except for one song. Sometimes I feel like he's a little over self-indulgent, with what he does. Just like, and I feel like maybe that's why he's the only guy that was kind of in the band the whole time. As people, I can imagine he could wear on people with his. I'm sure he's pretty eclectic and probably not all that easy to get along with sometimes. So it's just you can hear it in the music. It's just kind of all over the place, and he's. By damn it, I'm gonna put whatever I want in here, regardless of what anybody else thinks or cares, or
Yeah.
So it's just he's gonna put out what he puts out, and who am I to say? He's the artist, not me. So
Yeah.
I can only just react to what he's put out, whether I like it or not, and it's just my opinion. So I'm sure he's like, F this guy, who are you?
Yep.
I'm the genius musician here. Although, and I've heard him say, on live recordings, I'm the genius musician here. I'm like, yeah, okay, we know.
Yeah.
We know.
That's
why we're here. We know. But even that, it's not that bad. It's just way too long.
Yep.
I don't know. Like the sound, I like the sound more on this one. I could more easily just let this play. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. There's not much on here I'd really skip. Hessian Peel only because it's like Love and Happiness Long. It gets to the point where I want to skip it, but this is more of the kind of stuff I could just let play.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's pretty decent. I can put it on and just let it play while I'm cleaning the garage or whatever. So
right.
It's this is number 2 for me as far as Opeth goes.
All right. We'll move on. This is not my favorite part of this. So September 13th, 2011, this is when they changed everything. They went from progressive metal to progressive rock. This is basically a 60s, 70s progressive rock band now at this point. Heritage, produced by Michael Ackerfeld, written by Michael Ackerfeld. Like, this is his... I'm doing what I want, basically exactly what you just said. This is I know nobody's going to like it. I made myself popular with one kind of music. I'm doing something else. I don't like this. This isn't my thing at all. Like, to me, I feel like I'm just listening to a 70s band that it isn't very good. Like, to me, it's just not a good 70s rock
good
band.
Point.
It's
that's a good point.
One that I would never listen to. So I do like the Devil's Orchard. They play it a little bit live. Folklore is good, but I don't like most of this album. It's it's meandering just to meander for me. It kind of feels like the rock version of those first 2 records. I just don't care. I don't like it. This is number 12 for me. I'm sorry. No, this is number 11 for me. So bottom of the barrel. I don't go back to this at all. I don't like it. This is when they lost me. Still love them. Still love to go see them live. But man, at this point, I'm just...
Do they play any of this?
Just the Devil's Orchard. That's it.
Okay.
The first song.
Okay.
After the instrumental. But man, this is not my thing. I don't like this version of them. So this is a C- and almost a D+. I just don't like giving my favorite band Ds. I've already given them 2. This is not good. So not a fan. What did you think of Heritage?
This is funny. My notes were I looked at the song list before I started. I'm like, hey, much shorter songs, let's go. And then I started playing it and I said, oh no, they shortened the songs. Yay, they completely lost their edge. Boo.
Yep.
Not good. Oh man, I'm not a big fan of this. I would definitely name this. We mentioned it before. I'm gonna try to coin a term here. I would definitely name this hard jazz.
Yep.
This is hard jazz.
Yep.
Or heavy jazzle, whichever one you'd rather go with. But this is weird. Some of it is okay, I guess. But I guess this is kind of a careful what you wish for thing, right? Because I'm like, before I'm like, hey, I don't really like these long songs. Hey, I'm not really into this kind of death metal, kind of weird death metal he's doing. Well, then he changes it up and do this, and this completely went the other direction. Where I was like, oh man, careful what you wish for. So I have favorites. The Lines in My Hand, maybe. Like, as I was listening to that song, I'm like, I was in the car. I think that when I was waiting for Kelly to come out of work, and I listened to this song, and I'm like, do I like this song or don't I? I'm not really sure. I think I do. So anyway, that would be the best one of the bunch for me. Almost all the rest of it for me is the skipper. This is bottom 5 for me. So I already went through the double digit ones. This is number 9. Or so that'll be 6. I don't know. Whatever. C-. Decent riffs in here somewhere. I know I heard a couple somewhere in there. If this just started, this is the note I wrote at the end, but I listened to the whole thing. If this just started playing on a device that I own, I would stop and immediately think, why on earth would this be playing for me to hear? What kind of algorithm thinks I like this? Because this is nothing like what I would like at all or ever listen to. So it's just that different for me. So I guess that's about the best way I can put it. Like, it's just so different than anything. Like, even the death metal stuff, like, okay, I could see how an algorithm or somebody could put this into a list of songs because I like other death metal type songs, right? But this is like nothing I would ever listen to in a million years. So
same.
It's just weird. It's not, I mean, he does it well, I'm sure. It's just not for me.
Yep. Well, we're leading into the 11th album, and I don't have much different to say about this. This is not my style of music. Man, just not a fan. Now, maybe this is a little bit more rock than jazz.
Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of people really like this album. It kind of ranks a little higher when you do lists of whatever. Me personally, it's just a little bit better. This is number 10 for me. This is still like a C-. I do like Cusp of Eternity. I do like Eternal Rains Will Come. Those first two songs are good. I do like Rivers, actually pretty good. But man, I really find that I don't come back to this very often. Just a lot of stuff I don't really like. I don't like this style of music. This is kind of where you were earlier. I just don't get into it. I can't get into it. So yeah, I have it number 10. I don't have much to say. I just don't really I just don't really like it. What do you think of Pale Communion?
I feel like this is a little bit better for me. I mean, although I get what you're saying totally, this is still jazzy.
Yeah.
But it's less so, and I like this a little more because of it. Goblin is kind of catchy and has some good kind of jam parts, but it's an instrumental. River kind of has an Eagles vibe to it. So, like you mentioned about a 70s rock band, like River is actually a pretty good song.
Yeah.
And my favorites are Goblin and River, even though Goblin's an instrumental, but it's almost, that's what, 4.5 minutes long. I mean, it's pretty good, and it leads into River. So I like that section of the album quite a bit, actually. So I didn't really find that I really wanted to skip anything, though, because there aren't extended jazzy parts here. Like, it's just, it's kind of hard rock, not as much hard jazz, kind of more hard rock, but a little better done than I think the previous album. So I have this as a C+, but I have this at number 4. So this one's kind of this is in my top 5 because there's a section of this album which is 25% of the album that I actually liked. So and then other parts I'm like, all right, there's not as really much for me to skip here. I can just put this on and let it play in the background. And a couple songs actually grabbed my attention. So I thought that was a positive. So that's where I was at with that one. So this is number 4.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you are liking at least some of this better than I do. That's interesting.
It's still not top 3. Not up there with Go Through Reveries. I like the edge better, the heaviness better.
Yeah.
But, for what this is, I like this one. This is the best of these, of the bunch of these, like you said, that there's no edge to them. It's just,
Yeah.
So this to me was the best of those, I think.
Okay. 12th studio album, Sorceress, September 30th, 2016, getting closer to the current portion of us. And this is a no for me. This is bad. I remember listening to this, like, it's worse than Heritage. And you heard what I just said for Heritage. I don't like this at all. I like the title track, Sorceress. They play it live every show. It's got a cool riff to it. My God, there's nothing else I like off this. This is bad for me. I get my favorite band, but I got to give it a D. This is a 12 overall for me. This is 12. So, man, I just can't get into it. I think this is bad. The guy just kind of went and did his own thing, and I just don't like this thing. So I kind of feel like I'm bashing him now, and I love these guys, but I can't do it. This is bad. For
Again,
me.
do they play any of this live?
Just Sorceress.
Okay. What about off of
Pale Communion? They play one of the first couple songs. Eternal Rains or Cusp of Eternity.
Okay. It just makes me curious. And is that only during these tours where they do a song off of most every album, or do they normally play those in their set list?
Yeah, they always play.
I assume you've
one
seen a bunch. So.
Yeah, I feel like Opeth does where they'll play one song from every album.
Okay.
Usually, so they'll find something.
So they don't do a tour of that. They just do that generally most every night.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So what did you think of Sorceress?
I like the stuff that's a little heavier on here. There's not a lot of it, but there is some. The super slow, quiet stuff gets really boring, especially back to back, like Sorceress 2 and what was the one after that? Seventh Sojourn, right? Is that the next one? I don't even have it up here. Yay, I was right. Sorceress 2 and Seventh Sojourn, like those two are just, super slow, quiet stuff, back-to-back songs where I'm like, oh man, I could really just go to sleep to this. And Strange Brew is strange, all right. That song is all over the place more than every all over the place song they have, which is saying a lot.
Yep.
That one's all over the place. My favorites were Sorceress, other than the weird intro. I didn't like the intro to it, but once it got into a little bit heavier, like riffs and a little bit heavier rock, I liked it. I like Chrysalis and I like Era.
Okay.
My skippers were Will o' the Wisp, Sorceress 2, Seventh Sojourn, Strange Brew. I already mentioned all those. Will o' the Wisp I didn't care for all that much either. They released like 4 songs off of this album.
I don't know where. I never heard of them.
Yeah. So this one I have is a 6. This is a lot less jazzy interludes on this one, which is good, and there's still some in there.
Yeah.
But a little too much in the quiet ballad department for me on this one. With those 2 songs. But this is one of the most straight ahead rock albums they've put out yet, in my opinion. Like, this is not as jazzy, not death metal. This is kind of, it's like he was going for this kind of straight ahead rock thing. And I think that's why there's multiple albums of this, because he was trying to see, like, if he can get to the point where he can really write some really good ones and really make some waves with it, like get people talking about him, get out of the 880K followers range, listeners per month on Spotify, and get up into the 8 million range, like a lot of these other bands have. So, or 3-4 million, whatever, like I feel like he was trying to, maybe there was some Ghost influence too, like, because Ghost
Swedish.
is around, Swedish, guitar player, right? Like, so maybe there was some influence there where I can do that too. I could probably do it better than this guy, because he's the genius, right? So I could see there being some competition there. And no, Ghost does this way better than you do.
For sure.
So I just feel like there's kind of a connection there, because there are parts of this that actually do sound like Ghost. They're kind of Ghostish for me. And I'm like, hey, this sounds right here like a little bit like Ghost. So I did pick that up, and I mentioned it somewhere in my notes here, but anyway, I have this one as a 6. C+, number 6.
All right. It takes us to number 13, which we thought was going to be our last album. September 27th, 2019, produced by Michael Ackerfeld and a few other guys that I never heard of. Stephen Bowman, Dave Stewart. I don't think it's the baseball player or anything like that. So we got In Cauda Venenum, which is Latin for poison in the tail.
Poison in the tail. That was the one I was trying to think of. I knew I looked that one up.
The cool thing about this album was he released it in English and in Swedish. So
I saw that.
There's 2 versions of it, which I
did not listen to the Swedish one or review it.
Yeah, I've done them both.
FYI.
It's the same album, just different language. Every music part is the same. This is his longest.
It would be weird though. Like, which one do you think he wrote it in? Because obviously the syllables are different. Like everything about it, everything about the languages is so much different. Like, how does it fit? One's going to fit better with the music than the other one. It has to.
Yeah, he did it in Swedish and then transferred it to English. So he says sometimes the English sounds strange.
Right. I would think then that one would sound better than the English one then, yeah.
Yeah. This album was better for me than the last few. This one kind of felt like he maybe has gotten into a little groove with what he wants to do. I like Heart and Hand, Next of Kin are good, Universal Truth. And I like the closer, All Things Will Pass. It goes a little bit long for me, but this is a good album. I think it was the first sense that I got in a long time that I kind of dug what they were doing. Still only number 9 for me, but it's from the new stuff. It's one of the better ones for me. So I liked it. I would give it about a C. I go back to it once in a while, But this is an album I think that benefits from listening to the whole thing front to back. It kind of works together. Kind of background music, like you were saying. I don't know that I would go back to it, listen to it in the car per se. This is good stuff. I like it. You know, it's not one of my favorites, but I dig it. It's pretty good stuff. It kind of fits the rock and the progressive a little bit together. So
Yeah.
so I'm good with it. Like I said, number 9, about a C plus. So I dig it. What did you think of Incauda Venenum?
This one, yeah, it's what their longest album, right? It's
Yeah.
68 minutes, so
Yep.
an hour 8 minutes. But there's a lot that are close. I think one's 66, one's 65, something. I mean, there's a bunch that are pretty close to this, but I thought that was interesting. But there's 10 songs, and there's nothing over 8 minutes.
Yep.
No, there's one. The last song's over 8 minutes, but again, there's sections of the songs I really like. I love the middle section of Dignity, but sadly, the rest of the song is nothing like that. I don't know why. It's just not the rest of it. It's just there's not another section where they repeat that. It's just I'm like, hey, this is really good, but I don't know where it went and why it never came back. Same with Continuum, where it picks up in the middle. It's quite good, but the rest is just eh. You know, like come on, like where's the good parts? But again, those are good parts for me, apparently not for him. So he just throws them in there, sprinkles them in there, and he's like, ha ha, there you go. You get no more. Hopefully you liked it. Charlatan, I thought was pretty good. I wish they'd left the spoken word out stuff like near the end, though. But that's a pretty good song. All Things Will Pass is decent. I like most of that one, too. My skippers are Next of Kin, Lovelorn Crime, The Garroter. Although these all three of these songs kind of have the same feel and kind of sound to them. And I could probably just let them play if I was just putting this on. Those are just my 3 least favorite songs on this album. I don't hate them. I would just, like, if I was really just listening to the ones that I'd like more, I would probably skip those. But even then, I don't think they're that bad. I have this as a 5. I have this as a C plus also, just same as you did. I don't mind it. Don't love it.
Yep.
Kind of just in the middle there.
Yep. All right. Well, that leads us to the new one that just came out yesterday. That's kind of cool that we get to talk a little bit about it.
Yes, I agree.
We don't have, again, for this being a band I really like, I've only got to listen to it 3 times. You said you got to listen to it almost twice.
Yeah,
so.
I stopped like a song or 2 short of twice. Buckeye started playing. I had to watch. I couldn't, and then I ranked all these at during timeouts.
Yeah,
so
all
that's
good.
what I did because I was listening to the new one and I got to I think 6.
Okay.
So again, I don't know. Is it S? Is that an S? It's so weird.
It's a paragraph. It stands for
paragraph. Paragraph 6 I got to. I didn't get to 7 or A Story Never Told, which is the last song.
Okay. Yeah.
I listened to it. I'm like, I'll just put it on again. In fact, I was working on the garage. That's why I used that as an example earlier, because that's what I was doing when I was listening to this one. So
yeah. So far, first impressions, man, this is good. I like it a lot. This is their first one they've done growls since Watershed.
Yeah.
He
2008, right? It's been a while.
He's done a good job of mixing those together. It was kind of surprised to all the fans, like, oh, growls, heck yeah. We have a new drummer, Walteri. I don't even know, Walteri Varian or whatever. But man,
wow, yeah,
he's awesome on this album. I think the drums are phenomenal. I feel like maybe that's a missing piece, and I guess he just kind of wanted to do heavy again, growls, and it's been a while. So it's a concept album. I guess it's a post World War I era. Like guy is reading his will, with last will and testament. So he's reading it to his family, basically telling them what they get and all that stuff. He in interviews he said he basically was he was watching that show on HBO. What is it? My mind's escaping me, but it's basically about that. It's about a family and their will. So I like it. It's a little weird. A little weird setup.
I read that anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know which one.
I can't think of the show. What that show's name is. Starts with a C. But we got the song titles are weird. It's just paragraph 1 through 7, and then the last track is A Story Never Told. I did not like the singles that much off of it. I was a little disappointed. 1 and 3, I was like, okay. I haven't heard them live. I was like, all right, they're a little better. But I put the album on, and I think the songs that were not singles were good. 2, 4, 5, and 6, I think, are phenomenal with a lot of good parts in it. So far, it's kind of fitting right in the middle for me. I like it at number 6 right now. I mean, obviously, it's going to move over time. but I have it at 6 right now. I really like it. I think he finally found something that kind of pulled me back into this band for newer stuff. So I like it. So far so good. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts on it as I listen to it more. What were your first impressions of The Last Will and Testament?
What did you have this one ranked?
I had it number 6.
Okay.
Probably about a B so far.
Okay. I first looking at it, I thought, man, that's some weird song titles. But I kind of had an idea of that because the 2 singles were Paragraph 1 and Paragraph 3. So I was like, that's interesting. I didn't know the whole album would be that way, though. But the whole album is except for the last song. It's funny because I just read and it just kind of clicked for me. I actually wrote in my notes while I was listening to this, I'm like, this album to me, it sounds like it was all written as just one really long song.
Yep.
And then broken up into pieces, just like all the rest of their music.
Yeah.
Is all over the place.
Yeah.
This one seems like it's just the songs are broken up, and it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason, but it all flows together. Right. Okay. So it's the same ebbs and flows, heavy to acoustic, just like a bunch of their stuff in 12 to 15 minute songs are. But it's kind of broken up into these paragraphs. So that makes total sense that it's actually supposed to be that way, that it actually is paragraphs. It's like one just document, and then it's just broken up into paragraphs. So that totally makes sense. This is one of the easier reviews I've ever had because I was like, I have no favorites. There's nothing on here I would skip.
Yep.
It's all kind of the same. It all just ebbs and flows during the whole time, which I think I like better than in one particular song at a time.
Great.
It just kind of just keeps going. And it's better to have the edginess back again. Like the hard stuff, it's good to hear that. So I'm encouraged. I have this as number 3.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. So I was like, hey, maybe they're onto something here where I don't love it.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, this actually kind of feels like it makes sense rather than I don't understand why this part is here and then why this part is here and why I can't get back to the other stuff. Like this one actually kind of feels like it flows and it almost makes a little sense. So, but that's where I have it. I have this as a C+, which again, I don't love it. It's not my favorite thing, but this, like I said, this is top 3 for me for them. So it's kind of encouraging. I'm interested to try to listen to this a little bit more and also see what they come up with next. So,
all right. So we are done with the 14 albums. We got through them.
We did it.
What did you have? Give me your 1 to 14.
All right. Number 1, Ghost Reveries. Agree with you there. Number 2, Watershed. Number 3, as we just talked about, Last Will and Testament. Number 4, Pale Communion. 5, In Cauda Venenum. 6, Sorceress. So those are the 3 that all kind of got to the lighter, jazzier stuff. But I tended to like that a little bit more than the all over the place stuff as before, but I missed the heaviness. So
right.
I want to hear some albums like that, but that are all heavy. Now, I didn't like Deliverance because there's still too much in there, but more straight ahead, heavy metal rather than straight ahead, just hard rock, 70s rock, whatever he was trying to do. So maybe that's what's coming next for me. I'm hoping. So anyway, Blackwater Park, number 7. Now, that was a tough one for me because I haven't rated the same as the other 3 that I just mentioned, and those 3 are kind of the lighter side, but Blackwater Park is pretty good. So I had a tough time deciding, do I like this style more? And that was why I have those 3 albums there, but I could see if I listen to those 4 again, I might, maybe at some point I'd put Blackwater ahead of all 3 of them and make that number 4. So it's not like I didn't like Blackwater Park. Like I recognize that's some pretty good stuff there. So it's just, I like the other style a little bit better. So anyway, then I got Damnation at 8. Heritage, which is a really, really jazzy one. Heritage at 9. Or no, Deliverance at 10. 11, Still Life. 12, My Arms, Your Hearse. 13, Morning Rise. And 14, Orchid. So those first 4, I just... Man, I don't know. I guess maybe I could try again and try to get into them, but I just...
You don't have to anymore. You got through them.
But it's just, I don't know, man. You kind of influencing me a little bit with how much you like a couple of those. It makes me feel like especially Hearst and Still Life. Like I feel
Yeah.
like maybe I should revisit those because you really liked them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. To me, it kind of sounded like more of the same, but I'm like, maybe I'm missing something in there. I don't know.
Right.
What did you have? What was your overall rating?
All right. My 1 to 14. Number 1, Ghost Reveries, of course. 2, Blackwater Park. 3 is Watershed. 4, I had Still Life. 5, My Arms, Your Hearse, silly name. 6, Last Will and Testament. Number 7, Deliverance. Number 8, Damnation. Number 9, Incauda Venenum. Number 10, Pale Communion. Number 11, Heritage. Number 12, Sorceress. 13, Orchid. And 14, Morning Rise. Just not my thing. Man, I'm happy, man. You made it through it. I'm proud of you. I know it
Thanks,
wasn't your
man.
thing, and you weren't too bad. You weren't too mean to them, so you did
It's
great.
a lot of the same thing. I didn't want to kind of keep beating a dead horse,
I
but
gotcha.
the same thing that I didn't like about him was kind of their thing, which sucks
Right.
because it just kind of it's there throughout. It's just
All right.
different versions of kind of the same thing, but
Totally. Yeah, I totally get it.
yeah, there's
But-
some hope though for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, next week, I'm not sure what day yet because we're kind of a little off schedule, but we're going to do
Yeah.
Pantera next week. I'm looking forward to that. That should be fun.
I think if we did Cowboys through Reinventing the Steel,
Yeah.
I feel like we could get that done in like a day and do it like Monday. But
Yeah.
considering we're going to do the other 4 albums that came out with before that,
Yep.
that's going to be a little tougher. So we're
Yeah.
going to have to try to digest some of that and really rate some of that. I'm sure those will all be rated worse than the other ones, but
Sure. But we're going to do it.
It adds for stuff. And you might as well. It's not like it's a different band. They didn't change singers. They didn't change half the band. It's just they sounded different. They kind of changed their sound and it kind of evolved, which it'll be kind of interesting to look for that, right? So
Yeah.
I've listened to the older stuff. I've listened to the stuff that everybody loves by them. I'm interested to see how it kind of merges together. Where do I first hear parts that I'm going to hear later? I'm kind of interested to see that. So it'll be worth it.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
So yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. Obviously, Thanksgiving's Thursday. So
yeah, we'll probably try to get it
Tuesday
in
or
before
Wednesday.
that.
We'll try to get it in. Yeah.
All right, partner. Well, thanks for another good one, and thanks everybody for watching. And we will see you in the next one.
Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.